Let me show you how to make an apple strudel my way, Denise's way. But before we start, let me tell you a short story. It was in the year 2003 when I made a special trip to Vienna, Austria, to Sacher Hotel, famous for chocolate Sacher torte and apple strudels. I ordered an apple strudel because I wanted to see how my apple strudel will compare to theirs. Do they shred apples or do they slice apples? That's really important difference between Czech apple strudels and others. When I got my apple strudel, to my surprise, it looked exactly like mine. So I asked the server, who made this apple strudel? What's the name of that person? And she said it was Jaroslav Miller. And I told myself, Jaroslav Miller, that sounds really Czech. And guess what? He was Czech. That's why the apple strudel, mine apple strudel, and the apple strudel made in a Sacher Hotel in Vienna look very, very similar.
Many things are similar, and that's why the memories of a Sacher Hotel in Vienna is so special to me. I even ordered the original chocolate Sacher cake to my home, second and delivery, and it was delicious. I saved one piece because I wanted to have memories extended for future. And this cake is about 21 years old. Yes, you heard it. 21 years old. And it's still intact, but I wouldn't eat it. And here I have a Sacher Zeitung. It's a newspaper which tells all the stories about their chefs, about the story of Vienna. And on the page 4, we can find the chef Jaroslav Miller. He is the one who actually prepared apple strudel when I was visiting Sacher Hotel. So, since now we know a little bit of the history and we know that now apple strudel can be good as a Viennese apple strudels, we can do it in our own home and we don't even have to fly overseas. Well, let's start it. Making apple strudel. First of all, you're gonna have your dough made 30 minutes before rolling and rest it nicely. And we are gonna roll this dough to the size of my parchment paper, which is as big as my baking sheet. You can add a little bit of a flour, just don't overdo it because then dough will be more harder to work with. Just a little bit. And you can roll it straight on your towel. If you don't have a parchment paper, that would be just fine. Making sure then it's not going to stick too much when we are going to be rolling the apple strudel into the strudel. Make sure your corners are nicely filled. If the dough breaks on you a little bit, that's fine. Just with a finger, you can press it down a little bit. And here we go. I'm happy with this. If you have some thicker part, just with a roller, press on it and make it more even with the other parts. Next step would be breadcrumbs. So we're going to sprinkle breadcrumbs, and you can sprinkle it just in this part, leaving about 4 inches without it. The reason we are using breadcrumbs is to soak that extra juice which stayed in our apples. Because then when you bake it, the juice is gonna still come out and it's gonna be really messy, very watery. Your granny apples are gonna be the best for baking. They are tart and they just kind of really make the baked goods better than any other apple. So here you see again, I'm staying away from the edge, which is gonna become the bottom of our apple strudel. And spread the apples nicely and evenly all over to the edges. If you have somewhere more than other place, just make sure that it's about the same. Okay, next is gonna be our cinnamon. I love Watson cinnamon. It's nice and sweet. It's a cinnamon grown in Madagascar. It's an island of the Africa coast. And it's just really, really wonderful. And I love cinnamon. So you can see, make sure then you have it again everywhere, evenly spread. And then we are gonna add sugar. Here you can decide how much sugar you want to use. My apples at this time of year been a little bit older, so they are gonna probably need more sugar than when they are really, really fresh. You have to taste that before you are gonna be adding the sugar, but this would be about enough. Now I'm gonna sprinkle my raisins, making sure that there is gonna be a raisin in every bite. So, and I like that. In my book, I recommend using pecans. This time for my apple strudel, I'm using walnuts. I really preferred walnuts, but they are hard to find in the stores. So that's why I'm recommending in my book pecans. So we have all these beautiful things, and now we are gonna add butter. Butter is again optional. You can add it or you don't have to. I happen to like it, so I do add a little bit of butter. And now the most important part you're waiting for. How do we roll this? So I'm gonna pick up my parchment paper and fold it just at the beginning like this. If my strudel would lay on a towel, I will do the same thing. I will just kind of roll it like that. And now I will make sure that parchment paper is gonna get off. Of course, if it's gonna be towel, you're gonna make sure the towel is gonna go off. Now lift again and roll. Make this one first roll nice and tight. And with your finger, just tight it, press on it. In this moment, I'm gonna tuck in the edge, and I'm gonna tuck the edge on the other side. And pick up my parchment paper and roll it, press it, and tuck the edge. If anything falls out, just put it back in. That way you're gonna have just beautiful and tall apple strudel. It's not gonna fall on you. You know, it's not gonna be flat. It's gonna be nice and high. And We are gonna keep on doing this all over to the end. Now you see we are on the bottom part. We give one more roll. I don't like the edges, the heel sharp, so I always kind of press on them like this to even them up with the rest of the apple strudel. And now, when you're making your first apple strudel, it's easy to pick it up, your parchment paper. On the other side, if you're gonna have it on your towel, you can't really pick it up and place on a baking sheet, you know, like this. This is just easy to do. And here you are, you know, you are ready for next step. But let me show you what you have to do when you are on the top of a towel, or if you are making your second one, because you already have a parchment paper underneath. You're gonna lift your strudel like a baby. You're gonna put your hand under like that, and with your other hand you're gonna lift it up like this and place on your baking sheet. And our next step is going to be smearing our egg on the top for beautiful color. So here you go. Make sure then it's everywhere nicely covered. And here we are ready to go to the oven. How it's gonna come out in the 35 minutes. Here is your apple strudel, and I cut little piece, and all you have to do is put the powdered sugar on it, and dobré chutnání. Enjoy your apple strudel.